I've been asked this question many times. I feel content gives context to sports. Like, if there was no content, there is no narrative to what's happening. There is live game. If the wicket falls, it's a wicket. It is driving a lot more efficiency. But AI is the one out of all you spoke, one we need to keep a close eye on. It will shape industry trend. Most of our current strategies are video first. And third is we don't get free tickets. Right?
अरे यार you covered my next question. ठीक है.
But
ठीक है.
anyway.
Hi, welcome to Beyond the Field, a show where I take you off the sports field and into your favorite teams and events. I'm your host Nadeem Sheikh, and I will be speaking to industry professionals like me to provide you guys a 360-degree view of the thriving sports industry of India. Today, I have with me Chintan Shah, Director of Content, Social Media and Video Production from SI, Sportz Interactive. Welcome, Chintan.
Thank you, Nadeem. Pleasure being here.
So, Chintan has worked across multiple stakeholders, multiple sports franchisees. He's worked with International Olympic Council, Geo Cinema, multiple IPL franchisees, Pro Kabaddi. You want to share your experiences?
Look, when it comes to sports, like you mentioned, it has been a journey in itself. I've been with Sportz Interactive for 7 years, and that's my experience in sports. But if I look back to when I started off to now, started working with ISL and Star Sports back then, and now I work with close to 40 clients across the board. And I feel privileged at times that you get to work with your as a fan. You always look up to these franchises teams, but if you get to work with them, I feel I'm been in a position of privilege more than anything else.
So Chintan has with Sportz Interactive. I have an incident with Sportz Interactive. In 2017, I visited the office. Amazing experience. The entire office is like a sports arena. The ground is like a track field. The conference room is there are multiple conference room. So each one has a sports theme. Everyone is, and there are flags of team, and it is just an amazing experience. I was a visitor there, and I felt that this is the place that anyone who is passionate about sport has to be there.
No, I agree. I think it's a second best thing. It's like second to being in the stadium and watching the game. You need to watch an India game, World Cup game from our office. You don't have to be in the stadium. Of course, people don't get tickets, but you can come to our office and watch them. It's that fun.
Nice. Chintan, we'll take a step back, and we want to give our viewers a background of your educational background and also your professional journey.
Sure, I can start from the source, from the top. I was a kid who didn't figure out what I had to do till a very later stage of my life. So I did my pharma because my friends were doing medicine and I wanted to be with them. So I took an admission. So I was born and brought up in Ahmedabad, and my graduation was from a place in Vallabh Vidyanagar. It's a place near Anand in Gujarat. That's where I did my graduation. As soon as I took my graduation in year one, I realized that hey, this was a bad call. Maybe I'm not fit for doing medicine. So I thought, okay, what's the best way to make a move? And I did my MBA from ICFI Business School, Hyderabad. It's IBS Hyderabad, right? And unfortunately or fortunately, I was a 2009 pass out, which was a recession year in itself, right? So I didn't want to take jobs in banks, so I came to Mumbai, joined couple of startups. But I always felt that digital will have a huge role to play when it comes to marketing. It was still at a very nascent stage back then. So digital is what I picked up, and I, for the first 6 years of my career, worked across multiple agencies, different sectors from automobiles to even banking, steel. What that gave me is a varied experience of what works in terms of marketing strategy across different consumer sets and audience. But I had always had passion for sport. I used to play professional cricket back then when I was in college. But I lost touch, and Sportz Interactive happened by chance. Uh, Got a call. I thought, why not? And yeah, since then I'm with them. More than 50% of my career now is spent with Sports Interactive. So, and in Sports Interactive, I started in this role actually leading the entire content business. But that point in time, content business was small. Content business started with at Sports Interactive in 2014. I joined in 2016. So while it was a we are an organization which's been there for 22 years, but for me it was like joining a startup environment, which was great because I had to take on a lot more responsibility that I wouldn't have taken up. And also, uh, you are part of building narrative for a sports, for a league. Back then, I started working with Pro Kabaddi League. I didn't even know what Kabaddi was, but today I am a Kabaddi expert. Same with ISL, which just started off. So, 6 years of 7 years actually of this journey has been very enriching. Where you're not just doing content, but you are also building sport in itself, right? Because content is a main part of the entire narrative that you build. So yeah, that's been my journey, and now we have close to 40 clients. I lead a team of 250 odd players. We call them players. We
Yeah, yeah.
don't call them employees at SI. And we work with global clients, Indian clients, big names, big entities, and yeah. So that has been my journey, and again, I'm very excited for the next chapter of not only Sports Interactive's growth, but sports in India. I think looks very promising. So yeah.
So in our conversation up till now, we've been speaking about SI Sports Interactive a lot. I want to give our viewers. You want to give our viewers a background. What is Sports Interactive and what do they
Sure.
do?
So look, Sports Interactive is a 360-degree product, service, and digital agency, right? In nutshell. But what we do is with our sports partners, which are organizations, teams, leagues, we help them onboard new fans on their owned and operated platforms, right? So operated are basically a social media platform. Owned are their own assets, apps, websites, and then once they are onboarded, we help our partners engage them with multiple products that we have, or even content that we generate on social media. Once that is done, we move the journey to commercialization, right? Because at the end of the day, our partners need to while it is great doing content or engaging a fan on your website and app, but it also needs to mean something for business of sports, right? So if I have to summarize what I just said, we help our partners acquire, retain, which is retention, and commercialize our sports fans, right? So that's in a nutshell what we do. And in process, again, you mentioned multiple clients, so we work with a lot of global partners. We work with major Indian entities, and we are a 600 member strong team across all different verticals that we have.
Okay. So in your journey at SI, you've crossed multiple levels. Like you're director now, but you might have started at a lower level. How has that progress been?
So look, I mean, SI is a place of opportunity. I tell every new person or player who I interview, where if you have the skill set and you have hunger to prove yourself, I think you will get multiple opportunities to grow. I'll give you my example, right? Why I joined in this role of leading the content team, but then a couple of years, 2 3 years into my journey with SI, I felt that video had a huge opportunity, and we didn't have a production house back then, right? So I wanted to focus only on building a production team at SI, and I was given that opportunity, right? It's a big call from the management and from my from my manager as well, to move me from a role that I was leading to only focus on like a it's like an innovation hub, right? Trying, you're experimenting with something, right? So I was allowed to do that, which I feel not many organization would do. I'll be very honest. And once I set that up and it was on autopilot, I moved back to this role, right? So if only ingredient to grow at SI is the hunger for you to do more, and more doesn't mean working hard, but just to go over and above and beyond, be strategic, bring in solutions to the problem, not only at Sports Interactive, but also what your partners are facing, and that's how you grow. Yes.
Nice. So, Chintan, give me a background. Why is content important for Indian sports?
Look, I mean, I've been asked this question many times. I feel content gives context to sports. Right? If there was no content, there is no narrative to what's happening. There is live game. If the wicket falls, it's a wicket. But if you add a layer of content on it, you will know the story behind that wicket or a historical context to for that matchup, right? So, like what Maxwell did against Afghanistan.
Yes.
He scored 200
One.
runs and single-handedly won the game. But if you see the content that is getting created around it, it's one of the greatest innings. People are comparing that innings with what Kapil Dev played against New Zealand in
Yeah.
'83, right? So, content gives is a soul for the sporting event in many ways, and it also helps in building narrative stories. I was giving an example of pro kabaddi,
Mm.
but outside cricket there are many sports that are flourishing in India, right? But if marketing is very important for that sport, right? While it is a it will it but no matter how good the product is, which is any league, you will have to have a layer of content to bring in awareness, to reach audiences that you never reached, and also for audiences or fans to sample that sport. Today, there are many people who I meet who are fans of NBA. Olympics are picked up in past years after the Neeraj Chopra gold in Tokyo, right? But if there is no content, there is no story behind it, right? And hence, I feel content is one of the main pillars when it comes to building sports narrative in India.
So you talked about other sports getting picked up, Neeraj Chopra at Tokyo, and also the Pro Kabaddi League. How does content strategy changes when it comes to cricket versus rest of sports in India?
It will, right? Look, cricket is still a massive
Big chunk.
story. It is still 80%, while
Yes.
there has been a lot of progress in other sports in past 4 5 years, but cricket still dominates. So the strategy there would be very different from strategy you'll apply for say an upcoming sport. Here it is more about playing on the fandom of fans. Right? There is a
Okay.
massive following always. You need to give them like there'll be heavy focus on moment marketing. Like I was giving
Okay.
you Maxwell example.
Maxwell, yeah.
Virat Kohli is 49 century.
Century,
Right?
yeah.
If say you are doing content for an IPL team, you will piggy bank on that moment. But the key with cricket is because there is so much of content. Everyone differentiation is the key. The
Okay.
strategy that every IPL team applies today is if I talk about a Virat Kohli's 49th century, how am I different from some other IPL team talking? What is my own flavor that I
Mm-hmm.
bring to this? So it has been a little more nuance there where hey how can we differentiate because everyone talks about cricket. Also cricket fans worship players, right?
Yes.
So whether we like it or not, it is still a very player driven sports
Yes.
ecosystem that we have. So how can you leverage players better? Challenge though in cricket is around while India cricket goes on for throughout the year.
Throughout the it's a year-long
IPL
thing.
is just 2.5 3 months
Yes.
carnival, right?
Mm.
There's a huge off season period, if I
Yeah.
can term it as off season, where you'll have to think of strategies to engage
Yes.
the
Fans.
cricket fans. But on the flip side, sports like say ISL football is still very popular, but say Kabaddi, right? Pro Kabaddi League, sports out of nowhere, right?
Yeah.
It was converted into a professional sport,
Yes.
and the basic challenge there was awareness. What
Mm.
the sport is about, how it's different, how can you make this interesting for someone to tune in on the TV or on your OTT platforms, right? So awareness is a big play when you begin with.
Mm-hmm.
Second is hero building. You need to create
Yes.
heroes. Cricket has established
Absolutely.
hero.
Absolutely.
Those sports don't, right?
Mm.
So, like I was mentioning to you about Neeraj Chopra, right?
Uh-huh.
That one, that one spark translated. That's what happened with cricket in '83 when we
Mm-hmm.
won the World Cup, right?
World
It
Cup,
was
yes.
that spark that ignited everything.
Yes.
But then you need to follow up. Olympics happens once in 4 years,
4 years.
right? PKL happens every year, but again, it's a very short duration. So
Also,
how
it's not
can
consistent. Like my point of view,
yeah,
the period is not consistent. Sometimes it starts in September,
correct.
different.
So that's always been the challenge in Indian ecosystem. But again, for us as a marketer, we need to build heroes. We need to make players aspirational, and hence the sports
Yeah.
become aspirational.
Bigger, yeah.
So yeah, and I think these sports will reach cricket fandom in I don't know the time frame. It is still some time away, but that doesn't mean consumption doesn't happen.
Hmm.
I always, people ask me this question to say, but cricket versus, it's unfair to compare. It is like comparing apples to oranges. It will happen, but as a marketer you need to be cognizant and aware where the sport is and what fans you are talking to and how you will modulate your communication to them.
Okay. Nice. And what is the opportunity you see in the content system? Like if I promote some sports, how do I promote it on social media, say for example, or any content platform?
So, I mean, to begin with, what we do at Sportz Interactive is first we need to understand our partners, right? Like, even take it any league, right? Like, Kabaddi team has 12 teams, IPL has 10 teams, right? At the end of the day, talking about the same sports. First, you need to understand the persona of the team, right? If the team was human, how that team would talk. That's the starting point for any content creation framework, because otherwise, so any moment you will talk in the same manner, right? So first is understanding who you are as a team or a league or a organization, and how are you going to talk to the fans. That needs to be very consistent. I think IPL teams have done this
Over
very
a
well.
period of
If you
time.
look at Mumbai Indians, you will figure out a person of Mumbai Indians looking at the content. Same with say Delhi Capitals, RR. They have a similar tone of voice no matter what they are talking about, and that's very important. Again, differentiation, customization, one size fits all doesn't work for fans anymore, right? So that's one. I think it's opportunity and challenge. Both challenge is to identify, then opportunities. So if you do that, then it's a sweet spot, right? You are able to differentiate your content from others and also bring in more fans in fold.
Okay. And what are the challenges you face?
I mean, challenges per se is again, it's differs from different sports that you do. But I'll
Like if
start
we
with.
talk about like general, like not a specific sport, like not any particular
Hmm.
sports. If we talk about sports content in general, if I want to push the entire content, how do I push it, or what are the challenges I will be facing in if I want to push out?
So generally in Indian context, I think the biggest challenge is how do you keep your fan engaged over time.
Okay.
I think there's lots you can do when the tournament is on, right? You have multiple opposites to talk about, but you'll see today most of the IPL teams have dropped in fan following during the off-season period. Now, if this is happening in cricket, I don't even tell you what happens on the other leagues, right?
Yeah.
So it is very important to crack that formula. Even we are trying. I think it's a difficult game. If you compare us with international markets, Premier League goes on for 10 months. Same with NBA, right? It's a year-round opportunity to create content. Here, it's a long lag, and that has been the biggest challenge for us as to how do you keep engaging fans during that. Cricket again, it is a little bit simpler because Indian cricket is there. So say for
Nationalism आ
IPL
जाता है, हाँ.
partners, we'll bring narratives around that. Their players are playing. But what do you do for Kabaddi? Right? What do you do for Olympic? That's the biggest challenge right now. But again, like I said, every challenge is an opportunity. So if there are challenges, I think we are forced to think of solutions. And I think I mean, arguably, I feel we do better storytelling than other markets, because when there's a lull period, we force ourselves to think and try to engage the audience. But they're the only type, they will only talk about the game, analyze the game, because they have lots to talk about anyway. So, yeah, I mean, that's the biggest challenge currently the industry is also facing.
Do you think language is a barrier connecting on a regional level?
I mean, look, on in cricket it isn't, but we, I think language is an opportunity to bring new fans in fold. Like for example, Mumbai Indians started doing a lot of Marathi content during the season. Chennai is very heavily focused, regional focused, right? So depending on the markets, teams are using languages to their advantage. I don't think it's a right strategy to change your entire positioning to be very regional hyper. Even kabaddi teams don't do it because I think English is a common tongue for 50% of the market in India where people understand English. But the like certain hyper local content is being created. So I won't call it a barrier. I think again teams are using it as an opportunity to target audiences that they wouldn't have previously.
Okay. So Chintan, now we want to talk about you work with multiple IPL franchises. Do you want to give an example of what are the strategies they employ on two levels? One is when the season is on, and secondly when the season is off.
Sure. So yeah, I mean, look, we break this down into live and non-live
Okay.
content, right? And to begin with what I said earlier, first you need to do your groundwork as to what the team is, what is it that they want to, uh, tone of voice that they want to communicate. We call it brand communication framework, right? So that framework is very important because that becomes a backbone of all your content that you create. Now, before a tournament begins, say example of IPL, right? It is important to start like after this World Cup will end, we'll start thinking of the in-season strategies for our IPL partners, right?
Okay.
And because look, at the end of the day, format is the same. Every team will play a minimum of 14 games,
Hmm.
7 home, 7 away, right? So
Hmm.
what is it that the team wants to achieve for the season?
Season.
Setting up those objectives, which translates into a clear roadmap and KPIs. How do you define success for
Hmm.
this roadmap, right? That's the starting point of everything. Then you put the right team in place who will be able to deliver that objective. Right now, coming to the live working scenario, look, during a game, so again live is broken down into on match days and non-match days, right?
Okay.
So match day is typically at SIV called something called war room, where
Okay.
all of our key folks are together in a conference room, uh, creating content on the go, right? That is heavily focused on moment marketing. A moment has happened in the game, how can you talk about it? Live tweeting is a big,
Hmm.
Twitter is a big platform
X.
during X is a big platform. I still can't digest that word, but yeah, it's a big platform, or very important platform for that day, linked to cool stories that you create on Instagram, or a long form video that you create, right?
Hmm.
So that's how live is. On non-match days during the season, we have a traveling crew with the team.
Okay.
Like we have 3 out of 10, 4 out of 10 IPL, and we have a traveling crew where we are creating content on the
On
go.
the
So
go.
which is behind the scenes content, training content. Fans want to know more about the players beyond what's happening on, and IPL is a great time where we get that opportunity to spend some time with the players, and if you see, do a lot of fun stuffs with player, right? So basically humanizing the players that you see on the field of play. Work field of play is always very intense, but this is you're able to see lighter and human side of
Players.
players. And also there's a big bucket on sponsor led content as
Yeah.
well, like because this day and age there's just not a jersey sponsor, there are digital sponsors also
Yeah.
that the teams have, right? So there are and it is not a plain and content where you just slap a logo of
Hmm.
sponsor. We also create narratives around sponsors. How can you best integrate sponsors in content? So that's also a huge bucket that we need to follow during the tournament. Of course, post tournament, depending on the league, there are other challenges you need to tackle. But like I said, in cricket, it is following Indian cricket. It's a big strategy for most of the team. Other is their own players, narrative building, story building around the players. If there are any camps happening, we focus on the camps. Some of the IPL teams, even Kabaddi teams, are focusing on grassroots community
Yeah.
building. So that's also a good content opportunity that
Chintan.
and again, content around festivals is big depending on
Massive.
your market, right? So if you're in Mumbai, Ganesh Chaturthi, most of the even if you see Mumbai Indians, Mumbai City FC will create a lot of content around the festival.
Yeah.
So basically, integrating in the pop culture and just the culture of that city that you represent. It's just no longer about what you do in sports. At
Yeah.
least for the IPL teams, it is they have a you know they need to transcend beyond sport in some shape or form, right? Become team of the people. What happens on the field of the play then becomes irrelevant.
Yeah.
That's how you build true loyal fan following.
I think this is the thing that can fill the void when it comes to Indian content. We have so many things apart from cricket that are
Hmm.
happening that can be integrated into content with the team, like their festivals
Correct.
and like individual achievements also on some level that can also be integrated, and that helps massively to create a calendar when there is nothing
Yeah.
happening. So that is
Yeah,
also a
I
thing.
think only challenge there though is, and I understand why it is difficult for teams to do. It doesn't give you inherent virality.
Yeah.
Like if you have a Rohit Sharma or a Virat Kohli in a content, you don't have to worry. But say if you're
Yes.
creating a grassroots story or a
Mm-hmm.
comedy,
Mm-hmm.
you don't have superstars to show. It's a long drawn process, but I feel that's still very important because you also need to keep your long term objectives in mind, and not only fall in the trap of just doing short term what's
Yes.
going to work. So, and there's templates to follow. If you see global football leagues, be it United City, Real Madrid, Barcelona, there's a lot of community work,
Yes.
a lot of content around that also gets generated. So, and it has started happening. It's I think the weightage is not as much, but eventually I think that will change.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with your point. We earlier spoke about cricket versus rest of the sports. So what I think is, when it comes to cricket, the athletes or the player are already popular. So what goes on behind the scenes, like off the field, that is more
Yeah,
popular
yeah.
for cricket. But when it comes to other sports like say kabaddi or football, I might be interested in watching a skill-based thing like a super tackle video
Sure.
or a super tackle or super raid or somebody who's had a good free kick shot. So that is a content that I would like to consume and then translate into watching the match. कि इसने अच्छा मारा था, इसको मैं देख लेता हूँ कैसा खेलता है.
Correct.
That
Yeah, you're
works.
right. I think this helps you sample the sport.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what initial strategy was
Hmm.
for kabaddi
Hmm.
as well. But yeah, I mean, it's always a journey that every sport follows. Right?
Okay.
It's a bell-shaped curve. I think cricket is in its peak. Then you move to sustenance, where you just sustain what you have done.
Hmm.
I think kabaddi or other sport in India are still moving up the ladder.
Okay.
Uh,
Nice. You also spoke about brands getting integrated on videos and on the level. How do like what are the pointers in terms of content that the brands looks at while associating with the sports league or franchise?
I mean, some evolved brands that are out there, Coca-Cola, Nike, even Hero with ISL. I think one thing, the very important part is enforcing their brand image
Hmm.
or reinforcing their brand image, right? So if you see Nike has partnered with many athletes, tournaments as well, LeBron James, Cristiano Ronaldo, right? Serena Williams as well on the Olympics, FIFA World Cup. Now, what they are doing is while by associating with these athletes and tournaments, they are also reinforcing their image, which is sports excellence. Right? Just do it, right?
Yeah.
Persevere and just do it. So, it's because when you think of, say, Serena Williams, and if you see Nike associated with them, you have a similar brand image for Nike as well, right? So, more evolved brand will only partner with teams, leagues that fit into their brand image and persona.
Hmm.
Uh, but there are so many brands out there today. India gives opportunity for regional sports as well with Kabaddi, ISL. So there are some hyper local brands who would get associated for with say Haryana Steelers is a team in Kabaddi, right? So now if you want to tap into Haryana as a market, there will be brands who come on board for specific audience targeting. That's the second
Yeah,
bucket.
totally.
You want to talk to that audience in a fashion that they understand, right? And third is reach, which is obvious because if you and I have worked with brands in the past, automobiles, right? If you put one post on a brand page, I think there'll be 50 people who like it. Five of it will be from agency, right? But if the same brand content goes on a team's page, like millions of people would come in and engage with
Get
them, right?
engaged.
So
Yeah.
that reach, awareness, exposure
Hmm.
is a third bucket that, and the last one is emotional connect.
Yeah.
Fan sports is an only industry which is emotionally charged,
Hmm.
right? Today, if you are marketing for, say, a toothpaste, uh, even if that share price of that toothpaste falls, it doesn't matter to you, right?
Yeah.
You will switch a toothpaste if you're not okay with it,
Hmm.
but you don't change loyalty for your own team, right?
Yeah.
You talk to not customers but fans, and
Yeah.
that emotion is great, and brands want that, right? Once you have an emotional connect with brand, you become a cult, like what happened with Royal Enfields of the
Yes.
world or other such brands. So that's a fourth bucket. I think that emotional connect that brands crave for at times.
Yeah. So one example that is coming to my mind is Madras Rubber Factory (MRF).
Hmm.
first off to cross 1 lakh rupees. I'd like to follow public markets. But also, if you see over a period of time, they have associated themselves with excellence.
Yeah.
Sachin Tendulkar, briefly
Correct.
they had Prithvi Shaw, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
Now Virat Kohli. So they have associated heavily with the stars. Also, one thing that I want to add is like earlier, if like when I was young, I had to if I have to buy a bat, I would say MRF ka bat do. But now I realize MRF doesn't sell bats.
Yeah.
And over a period of time, MRF is selling cricket kits and all. So they
Yeah.
have this also
So
on their
that's a
platform.
classic case of brand image. Right?
Yeah.
Now, I mean, MRF is not thinking कि अच्छा इसके वजह से मेरा टायर सेल हुआ. You
Yeah.
wouldn't go and ask for an MRF tire. In
Tire.
fact, that is assembled by the distributors of the car. Right? You will never pick a tire. So I have not met anyone who has picked a tire for themselves.
Yeah.
Right? Unless you are really enthusiastic about car.
Yeah.
But it is reinforcing the brand image, quality. As soon as you hear MRF, you will think अच्छा quality है because in your subconscious they are associated with those kind of athletes.
Yeah, yeah. These values work. And my observation, top 4 Indian batters are associated with tire brands.
Correct.
Fiat and
So
MR.
that's one way, but I think the brands have also evolved. They
Yeah.
themselves become content creators. Look at Red Bull,
Yes.
what
Yeah,
they
yeah,
have
yeah.
done.
That
I
is
mean,
massive.
who would say Red Bull sells energy drink?
Energy drinks.
I think it looks like a secondary business now,
Yes.
but
Yes.
it is again brand reinforcement. Today you see 4 energy drink on the shelf.
Hmm.
You will pick Red Bull. It's cool, right? You've seen so
Yes.
much of cool content coming out from Red Bull.
Hmm.
That way, so.
And also the feeling that it gives, like if you see in terms of taste, the other energy drinks are also similar in terms of
Yeah.
taste, but that gives you extra sense ke, they had this tagline that Red Bull gives you wings and it gives you an adrenaline. And I've seen people who want to stay up at night, they have Red Bull, so that kicks their psychic ke, I have the energy and strength.
Yeah,
all of
it's
that.
at the end of the day image, right? I
Yeah.
don't think you always buy things for utility. Right?
Yes.
It's about how buying that product will enhance your image, right? Apple is classic example. Red Bull we mentioned, but it just makes you feel empowered.
Yeah.
Why? Because the brand image is very clear on your head. It's not
Yes.
because Red Bull has come and told you, but the association that Red Bull has made over the years, the content that they have
Content
created over the
distributed,
years,
yes.
has created a subconscious aura of that brand in your head,
Hmm.
and you would want to associate with them if you are a similar kind of person.
Yeah. And for me, Red Bull is like adventurous. अगर मुझे कुछ एडवेंचरस करना है तो इट हैज टू बी रेड बुल. मुझे आसमान से कूदना है तो रेड बुल है. मुझे
Correct.
स्विमिंग करना है तो रेड बुल है.
Yeah.
So F1 में they have this team Oracle Red Bull. So wherever there is adventure, there is Red Bull coming
Correct.
in.
Correct.
Incredible brand, you know.
Yes.
Nice. So Chintan, my next question is, what type of content resonates better with Indian audience, and how is content creators helping in it?
Yeah, I mean, look, the content landscape changes every 6 months, which is a good thing because fans get a different flavor of content, but digital ecosystem evolves very quickly. We are currently living in creators ecosystem.
Yes.
If you see every other content piece on your feed would be of some or the other creators, right?
Yeah.
And I think sport entities are also leveraging it. Currently ICC, in the beginning of the tournament, got a few influencers from India on
The
board.
song, right? You're talking about the song?
The song had them, and the folks who got featured on the song were also on the ground. They were given access to
Okay.
the players.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Collaborative content was
Mhm,
created.
mhm.
What that did is ICC could tap into masses that they would have never tapped into, right?
Hmm.
I don't think they're talking cricket at all. It's all fun content,
Yes,
but
yes.
there's no harm in it. Like I said, it is you have to go over and above just the live tournament
Things that are
happening.
happening on the field.
Correct,
Yeah.
because that's obvious. I think every other entity also, IPL ecosystem, most of the teams, in fact 50-60% of the team has a creator network who they tap into
Yeah.
to collaborate with the masses, right? So I think that's a huge thing, but also where we need to be careful where content can't become frivolous, right? There has to be some connect to cricket. There has to be some connect to your own brand image and identity, which I was telling you.
Mhm.
Like while this will give you crazy engagement at times, but then you can't lose who you are in the middle of all of this, right? So you need to be very clear as to who you are, what your base is, and hence collaborate with the creators who fit in their in that mold.
But I think I have been observing this trend where there are sports athletes
Hmm.
who are coming in into content. I think we have
Yeah.
Ravichandran Ashwin with Kutti Stories. We have Shoaib Akhtar, Jatin Sapru. We have
Yeah.
so they are also coming up with their own content pages, and they are just aligning with the content and leveraging their image in the field of sports. What they have.
Correct.
What are your thoughts on that?
So, like I mentioned, we are living in the creators network. I
Yeah.
mean, it's a world of creators, right? And
Mm.
not about just not athletes, even teams are becoming creator,
Yeah.
right? Everyone has to be a creator if you want to, get that engagement or traction on social media, and players are no different, because beauty is then you'll be able to monetize content. Why do players do it? They do it
Monetize.
because eventually they may get a sponsor who want to be associated with
With them.
their content. So I think if you are not a creator in today's day and age, I don't think your content will do well.
Correct.
On any platform.
Yeah. And when you spoke about monetization, I got an example. There is this. There are brands coming up solely on Instagram, and they are leveraging that. There is this one example. There's this one store next to my house called Bangkok Collection. They have 1,25,000 followers, and from that page, they are driving in people, and the store is like 150 square feet big. It's always full. It's
Yeah.
always full of people, and that is the only source of promotion that they do, and word of mouth again.
Correct.
And it has enabled brands to leverage on the platform and gain monetization and create
Yeah.
revenue for them. It's great.
So yeah, I mean that example is for say small entity who want to drive business
Yeah,
from social media.
Yeah.
But say big cricket entities, or sorry, sports entities,
Uh-huh.
I think for them monetization is creating content IPs.
Correct.
Like what RCB does with Mr. Nagle, right?
Nagle,
Or
yeah.
even what Delhi Capital did couple of seasons back, where they had Octa on board just for digital content, right?
Okay.
So they create content IPs which become famous
Yes.
in itself
Yes.
for a period of time, and hence the brand would be interested. Hey, there's a massive reach for this particular content
Mhm.
IP, right? This
Mhm.
also fits what my brand image is.
Mhm.
Let me associate with them, and hence a sponsor would pay sport entities to feature in those content IPs.
Yeah.
Right? Similar stories on the product side of things, that you have a game on your website or an app.
Yeah.
It's a very popular game.
Yeah.
A brand would be interested to get integrated
Associated.
in there, right? So that's how say teams are driving monetization
Yeah.
on back of
Yeah.
content.
Yes.
And these are not your jersey sponsors.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
These are just
dedicated to that
digital
content.
sponsors.
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah. And our next point of focus is how has the live streaming and real-time coverage of sports added to social media?
That's a massive impact if you think about it,
Hmm.
right? I think fans are more empowered today.
Mhm.
Like when I was young, I mean, maybe I'm still young, but when I was a little more younger, we only had TV to consume content. It was very one-way
One-way communication, yeah.
communication. And then there was next morning newspaper. Used to read some good articles around the match, and again very core cricket centric or sports centric articles. Today fans have so much of choice, right? They
Absolutely.
consume content anywhere that they want. There are highlights packages being put up. There's a second screen experience going on. So what that has done is fans are empowered today. That is good and bad both. Good thing is you can ride on this, right? You can create multiple touch points for fans to engage with you, and hence build a loyal fan base. The flip side is you can't take fans for granted.
Okay.
Alright, there's honestly today there's no fan loyalty that is guaranteed. Team and leagues have to make efforts to bridge that gap and build that loyalty. And look, live streaming is massive. Last IPL, Geo Cinema shattered all records. I think it was the most watched league digitally in the world, till or crores viewers. So I think it's here to stay. It is how we as marketers adapt to that trend.
Yeah. So you spoke about Geo Cinema and the multiple feeds. So in that multiple feed, they had one feed called the Fan Zone.
Fan zone, yes.
So I was there on Fan Zone live for Mumbai
Oh,
Indians.
very cool.
Up till now, I'm suppressing my passion for Mumbai Indians. It's not overwhelmed. Yeah, so I was there live, and from there, I picked up, okay, there's this incredible thing, and it's going to change everything. because that feed enabled other fans to directly communicate with us, as if
Correct.
we are sitting here, we are watching the match. So
Yeah.
that feed also had a similar feel, like how we're casually discussing. Other feeds were more technical and more, people who have people who are experts speaking.
Yeah.
That, and our feed was very casual.
Correct. So linked to that, I think that's where fans have more opinion now.
Yeah.
Good things you can get direct feedback from, and there's one of the reason why these new formats are coming up. In
Yeah.
cricket, there's 100, there's T10, because there's a demand of the fan that we need shorter formats. And as a cricket purist, I am still not okay with that, but it is what it is, right? Like, even tennis, if you see, there are newer formats coming up. So this has bridged the gap between what a fan wants and what a or I won't say gap, but it's just a time period for sports entity to act has gone down massively.
Hmm.
There's immediate feedback being taken and then implemented on the product side. Like Geo Cinema's journeys, they had the first big league that there was FIFA.
FIFA World Cup.
We were doing the CRM where we were listening to all the product led feedback that was coming in. That was feeded into their IPL product development as well, right? So that is the power of fans today. I think the team and the leagues who don't keep fan in the center of their strategy are not going to survive long term. So that's what it is.
So, Chintan, what do you think is the future of the sports media sector? How can this sector grow from where we are currently, say 5 years down the line or a decade down the line?
I think first thing first, linked to my earlier point, we need to know who our fans are. Understanding our fans, because these 2 points are very important. Fans are empowered. They are expecting much more beyond just the generic communication that at times we put out. Right. So one is you need to understand the fans you are talking to, go as granular as possible. There's only way as of now to do it is to have first party data with you. Maybe in future, if say social media platforms open up analytics a little more, you'll be able to do it now. But at this point in time, it's not there, right? So it is like, in an FMCG, you need to know your consumer you are targeting a communication to. So it is think about it, you are a soap manufacturer and you are just putting a blanket ad across all newspaper without knowing who you are talking to. That's currently what's happening in sport. We don't know who we are talking to. Right? There's a larger market split that is there, but there's no nuance consumer inside that we deal with. And this is for us as well, because we partner with so many people in ecosystem.
Stakeholders.
For us to also drive this narrative down the line, because what this will do is then it will impact everything. Strategies may change. This one to many communication can get restricted to one to a cluster of fans, right? Like even it may impact your content. Say when we have a travel crew with the team, if you have data points of these are the fans cluster that I have, you will create that kind of video content for the year-round content that I mentioned that there's a gap at this point in time, right? So I think this has power to change a lot of things that we also do at SI. And second is we have to be very adaptable. There are every platform is unique. 6 years or 5 years ago, I think each post used to go everywhere across all platforms. So platform differentiation is key today. On Instagram, Reels is the format that works the best. You put up a graphic on Instagram, it's not going to work as much as say it may work on Facebook. It doesn't work on Facebook also, but maybe there are still takers of those. So understanding the platform, bringing in differentiation is the key for future in sports media. Also understanding markets, like India is great. Like if you have been marketer, you have to be in India to understand to be a good marketer, right? Because say for example, Northern Belt, Facebook still works better than Instagram. Your DC, LSG, even Kolkata Knight Riders in the eastern side, their primary platform that drives engagement video today is Facebook. Come to west and south, RCB, Mumbai Indians, GT, the primary platforms are Instagram, right? So understand what platform works for your audience from the historical data, and not just blindly going full hog across the board is important. So again, just being smarter with things, I feel right now it is more just carpet bomb everything. Just bombard people with content. Like initially I was telling, it's problem of plenty today. I don't think the question is what more we should do, what less we should do is the question. But what we do needs to be meaningful. It has to be with some objective, some strategy in mind, and I think that is very important for sports media and all the marketers who are in sports media.
And the concept behind this podcast is we want people to understand that this sport industry that contributes 0.8% to the Indian GDP, and there are people working, if not more, but equal to the athletes. And
Yeah.
we will be, yeah, and we'll be having people who would be interested in joining this industry. What do you think are the roles, or how can people get employed in this vertical?
There's, are you talking only about content specific, media specific, or across the board?
Both.
But there's lots now. I think, like say for example, when I graduated 2007, 2009, if someone told me you can build career in sport, I would say how, and they would have no answer.
Yeah.
Today we have colleges who are
Sports
specifically,
management institutes.
focusing on building the sportsman. I think, and few in Mumbai are also doing everything right. They're giving exposure to industry leaders, and
Yes.
they are
Yes.
coming and talking to them,
Yes.
answering the same question that you just asked.
Hmm.
So I think that's a starting point. But yeah, not everyone would have exposure to these limited colleges. There's not as many as well.
Mhm.
I think first thing first is a no-brainer. You need to be a sports fan.
Fine.
Two, you need to understand that it is not as glamorous as it look
Yes.
from outside.
Yes.
And third is you don't get free tickets.
अरे यार you covered my next question. ठीक है.
But
ठीक है,
anyway,
ठीक है.
but yeah, and then you need to build your skill set, because at the end of it, it's a similar skill set that are used in different industries. So if you talk about digital, you need to be a good digital marketer.
Okay. Understanding
I
of the
think
platform and everything.
Yeah. I think if you are on a tech side of things, you need to be good at what you do.
Okay.
Now you marry it with passion for sport.
Yeah.
Marry with understanding of sports fan, because yourself are sports fan.
Yes.
Then you have an ingredient to succeed in the industry.
Absolutely. Yeah. And if somebody who is starting off just passed out of college and there is still gap for him to reach a professional level, he's still yet to be employed, what are the steps that he needs to take, or what are the things that he needs to pursue so he has a better chance of getting employed?
Yeah. I think first thing was, every sports entity, even us, looks for a lot of internship opportunity. We
Okay.
give a lot of internship during the
Okay.
big tournaments.
Okay.
Whenever there are tournaments, we actually, during IPL, say, we will easily have 25 to 30 interns working for us.
Okay.
And this is not us, even our partners would always need. So first thing first, if you're starting out, you don't know what you want to do, just intern.
Okay.
It will give you exposure.
What is happening here?
Just not because when you intern, you do everything.
Yes.
It's just not about doing one piece. You get your hands dirty everywhere. It will also give you, a lot of pointers to think through. Okay, what do I want to do, and how do I proceed? And then depending on what you've chosen as your path, then there are different paths. But say for example, on content side of things, you can either be in the client success, or
Okay.
which is our name for client servicing, or so you can be a content writer, or a video content creator, or a video producer, or a video editor. It's long form writer, script writer. There's so many verticals, right? So we also absorb a lot of interns at our end itself. So that's an easy pathway that they get.
Okay.
But sports is an industry where beyond a point, books won't teach you what a hands-on experience will teach you, right? So interning is very important. Even while you are in college, some of our interns are who are already studying, but they
Okay.
are so passionate about sports that they want to do volunteering for certain tournaments. Volunteering is great, right? Because you also get to be on the field,
Yes.
right? Around the players, around the event. So that's, I think, the starting point. I would say.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. Get your hands dirty and get involved in anything that you get.
Correct.
Volunteering, internships. I think that is the correct pathway. Also, like they should be reading something, some like books or something that could help or add.
Oh, yeah. I mean, look, there are a lot of books out there, but I still feel the best way to learn is keeping your eyes and ears open, being smart about things. Let's say if you want to make career in sports marketing, look what the best sports leagues teams are doing on their platform. Have your own POV. Analyze that in your own way. Be relevant to the trends that happen. The trends that I just spoke of earlier. I think 80-90% of the folks I interview ask this question and no one has a clue.
Okay.
Right, at what format works. I mean, you have to be thorough with certain things, right?
Okay.
And hence I feel that books beyond a point are going to give you knowledge in a box. You have to
Okay.
come out of that box and start.
Okay.
It doesn't mean you have to work for entity.
Mm-hmm.
I will give you an example. Someone who mailed me some NBA fans saying that, hey, I've seen your NBA content, and I feel these are the things that you can be changed because I'm also an NBA fan. That's
Nice.
brilliant, right? I would
Yeah.
hire him tomorrow because
Yeah.
he's gone over and beyond and thought. It is not that difficult.
Yes.
If you're a sportsman, you will get it.
Get
right?
it.
So
Yeah.
I think having that curiosity and hunger is far more important than thinking कि ये book पढ़ने से मेरा कुछ हो जाएगा. Of course, that doesn't mean we don't read, but you need to be curious over and above that.
Correct. So you summed up the point pretty well. So my next question is, what do you think are the misconceptions that people have about the sports industry or sports media industry?
First thing that I told you, right? You will never get free tickets. You will at times, but it doesn't happen. I mean, you
That
would know why I
frequently,
bring
yeah.
it up,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Because
yeah, No,
every
no.
other friend will ask me this question. I went for India Pakistan game and I was
Acha,
told, "Acha,
Ahmedabad."
किधर से ticket?" I said, "I bought it. Whether you like it or not, I didn't buy the ticket." So, but yeah, I mean, jokes apart, it is. Look, there are two layers here again. If you are an experienced professional like I was when I entered sports industry, you have to unlearn a lot of things, right? So, for example, other agencies is Monday to Friday work hard, then Saturday Sunday party hard. Doesn't
Yeah.
work in sport because most of the sport action
On the weekends.
happens. Yeah? So you need to rewire yourself. That doesn't mean you don't get breaks, but it may not happen on
Desired days.
desired days,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Even for me as well, right? At times. So it is very important to unlearn what you have learned traditionally and
Yes.
be ready for. It may eat into your family dinner time at times.
Yes.
Right? It may eat into your weekend plans with your friends. I'm just being real, right? I think nobody should get demotivated about it because inherently this is for people who are passionate
Correct.
to work in sports and passion.
We have
have
chosen
passion
this
for.
part. Yeah.
Correct. So that's, I will say, occupational hazard, and I'm being honest with it. It is an occupational hazard that way, right? So that is important. And two is what I was mentioning earlier. You need to understand you're talking to fans who are very emotionally charged. It's a
Yes.
huge responsibility. You're working on an IPL team's page. It goes to millions of people, right? You have to be on your best guard all the time, right? You cannot create something substandard and put it up, or create a bad product and put out, because they are not going to react as a customer will react. Customer उधर जाएगा, customer care में call करेगा, they will react on social media.
Direct.
So it's a huge privilege to work in, but it's also big responsibility.
Absolutely.
People need to understand that. So and people do come with a lot of misconception, but it is okay to be curious while you are in the interview stage to ask these questions.
Yes.
And for me, 50% of my interview time is telling them what you are up for.
Correct.
It is very
Correct.
different from what you would have faced
Hmm.
anywhere else.
So I have this first-hand experience of working across the clock. So I work for a fantasy gaming platform. We have matches 365 days, 24/7. Matches are on, cricket, football, anything. So we also go through the same thing, but we plan our stuff, like we have
Yeah.
team and we plan everything. But things come up. There are issues. I get calls 2 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock. ये हो गया, ये हो गया. We have to manage that because we are a B2C company.
Yeah,
And consumer don't think there is this timeline. They come at you anytime,
correct.
like real time on like social media. They come up to you anytime, and then you have to be on that time. Otherwise, you lose it and everything goes down.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, and I think we try to control that at Sportz Interactive, where people work in shifts, rosters. But it is intense, right? Sports is intense. The intensity that you see on the field is no different when you work for sport, when the game is on.
Yes.
The groups are buzzing, people are on the call. It is high pressure situation, like what the players would face when they are playing. It is for us as well. I think I keep saying this is the closest that I feel at times to represent a sports team on the field, right? Because you are in that mode, you are in that frame of mind, you are cheering, you are heartbroken, you are also bringing in narratives to talk about with the other fans that you see. You're talking like a fan for so that is important to understand. But that doesn't mean, honestly, and this again, industry needs to learn that we screw up our work-life balance when we work with. So there has to be ways for people to have downtime, which we are consciously focusing. That's a big part of our next 6 to 12 months roadmap. Where it cannot be तुम sports में join किया तो अभी खत्म हो गया, right? Doesn't work it shouldn't work that way, right? You need to create a balance for your players who join you, and that is what we are striving towards by having shift times, by giving a strict mandate of everyone getting 2 days off through the week, even during the season. Have we reached that 100%? No, but yeah, we are in that going in that direction.
Nice. I think up till now we've had a very heavy and serious conversation. I think now it's time to relax and we'll have a quick rapid fire.
Okay.
You're up for it?
Yeah, let's go for it. Yeah.
Okay, Chintan. Now it's time for the rapid fire. One word to describe your journey at SI.
I would say adventurous, because I've embarked on things that I haven't done before. So
Adventurous.
is the one, right?
Okay. Favorite sports moment you've covered in your career till date?
There are multiple cricket moments over here, but Tokyo Olympics was very special. Not
Okay.
just, I think this, I'll say that entire
Phase of the tournament?
tournament was like a moment for us. It just went very quickly, but I felt Olympics was born in India in that Tokyo Olympics. I think it's very close to my heart.
Best sports documentary you've watched?
Drive to Survive.
Drive to Survive.
Maybe a Formula One.
Yeah, same. Your favorite sports personality to follow on social media?
I mean, for work I follow.
No, this
a
is
lot
on a
of
personal
them.
level. Like भाई इसको follow करने में मजा आएगा या
I mean, I respect Virat Kohli a lot, so I follow him. Just, not because of his cricketing accolades, but just his focus on fitness and being an athlete and how he came back from a rough patch. So I follow him, and then Sachin Tendulkar. We have all grown up watching him play.
your go-to sports app or website for the latest sports update?
I do follow Quick Info.
ESPN?
ESPN. And again, childhood days.
Okay. One book that has had a significant impact on your professional life?
Yeah, it's a book by Alex Ferguson, Leading, correct. Yeah, so that again, it has helped me a lot because there's a big team that I deal with.
Okay.
And in that book, what he has also mentioned in his journey as to how he dealt with certain situations with few players, management. And one big thing that I've learned is you cannot have one size fits all leadership style. Every person is different in your team, and you need to
adapt.
And that's why he was such a successful
Manager.
manager.
If you could switch careers for a day, what would you choose?
Interesting question. We have switched careers a lot.
Just for a day.
Just for a day.
Yeah.
I always wanted to represent India as a cricketer. So I would.
Opening batsman?
So yeah, I mean, I come 2 down. As in number 4, I can bowl average. So if I can.
Everybody is an all-rounder.
No, I can bowl a bit in the middle overs, but if I can switch places.
If you want to switch place with one current Indian cricket player, who would be?
Very tricky question. But again, depending on where I bat and my skill set are, maybe Shreyas Iyer.
Okay.
Right now, that's the person that can get it.
Number
Sorry,
को छोड़ा नहीं है. Okay. What's your proudest professional achievement so far?
I mean, just not one achievement though, but just my journey at SI, where when I joined, we had 7-8 clients, 50-60 member team. Now we have 40 plus clients. So also as international clients, we have 250 odd players. We build a production house and now. So
the entire
that journey has been very enriching for me, and again, it's just massive learning. It's just made me better, not just as a professional, but also as an individual. So I would say that just
the entire journey is
and very journey also has setbacks, right? But that's what makes
yeah, that's part of the ride. Good. One word to describe the future of sports in India?
One word. It's fascinating. Lots to come. We're just on a brink of a big explosion. What we are witnessing.
So we are almost about to end. This is one of the ultimate questions. One advice that you've received from someone that has changed your career?
Yeah, this is from my the current CEO Arvind, and
Okay.
when I joined SI, right? So he said a sentence to me that stuck with me for a long time. Like you, at times you won't be the smartest
Uh,
or the most knowledgeable or someone with fancy revenue. That's not in your hand, right? But you can always be the most prepared person in a meeting or in a room or in a situation, right? So all you need to do is what you can focus, what is in your control, which is be as much prepared as possible. Don't walk into something blindly. Always prepared for a situation, and I think you will be in top 1-2% of the population.
and one advice you want to give to someone who is joining the sports industry or coming up?
Uh, I mean, look, there's a lot of advice out there, so I don't
Mhm.
want to be one other person who gives it. But
Okay.
this is my experience of what I've experienced with the young folks who join us. I think what I really need to endure.
Okay.
Right? Like I always give cricket analogies in a test match, which is my favorite format. There will be patches where the bowlers are on top, they're bowling down, so that you will have to survive that phase. Similarly, in when you are getting employed somewhere, there will be difficult days. There will be time where you have to see it through if you really believe in this is what you want to do, but don't throw it away. Right? You shouldn't throw away your wicket when going gets tough because it gets easier. Trust me, I played it gets easier. You get the failure, you can score quick runs. I don't think people, the young generation today understand that. You just drop off ahead, you don't quit. I will say this is not working. You have to give things a little bit of time. It's again current social media generation, whatever you call it, attention spans are less. There's no patience. People just want to get everything instantly, which is few still get it right, but you have to endure difficult phases in your life. It's just not professional. Yeah? This can help you personally as well, which I feel wasn't the case when we were young, but
Mhm.
it is a rampant problem now.
Yeah. No, I can understand this difference in times growing up, because when we talk about content, personally, I am not a social media person. When our team puts content regarding this podcast, I ask them to share the URL in a group. So I download the app, post it, and then delete the app. But I've seen the power of social media on the other side. I have a younger sister who runs an Instagram page. She has 1 lakh plus followers. And I've seen through her what is the power of social media and how can she leverage and both the sides of this. But it is very personal. How do you take it
Yeah,
and how does other takes it? And it is just the time gap that has evolved
correct.
people.
Yeah,
I
I
think
agree.
we've covered almost everything, the entire sports media segment from IPL to Kabaddi to ISL and what not. Tickets nahi milte. I think that is it from our side, Chintan. And to our viewers, keep watching Beyond the Field. Hit the like button and stay in touch with us. Thank you.
Thank you.